Talk to us about the implications, the societal implications of what's been going on this week, particularly as concerns the Supreme Court rulings.
Well, I think it's a sign of how quickly social issues are shifting in American culture. It's not something you necessarily see in terms of laws being passed by Congress. Not a lot has happened legislatively in Obama's second term. And yet this week, both because of the Affordable Care Act ruling, because of the legalization of gay marriage, and I think the surprising movement on race in the Confederate flag in the wake of that tragic South Carolina massacre make this probably the most consequential week of Obama's second term, and I think point the way forward for how quickly the country, and by extension Washington, is going to have to continue to evolve on a lot of these issues.
Washington and also political parties, right, Josh? I mean, what does this mean for the very conservative arm of the Republican Party, you know, the Tea Party conservatives, right, that we heard so much about, that were so influential in both the congressional and presidential elections? For a while, we thought maybe the country might be heading to the right, but what does this mean when we see these decisions by the Supreme Court?
Well, it's been a tough week if you're a Tea Party conservative, because everything has sort of not gone your way. I think the most interesting place to look is in the reaction to the 13 Republican presidential candidates, which ranged from, hey, listen, the court has weighed in, this is the law of the land, I don't like it, but we're going to move on, to, at the other extreme, candidates like Ted Cruz saying, I'm not going to stand for this, I'm going to introduce legislation that will give states the rights to undo gay marriage if they want to. So this looks like it's still going to be a flashpoint in our politics, although I think it's going to be more kind of contained in the Republican sphere than it is going to be a national issue, because the court has weighed in and said this is now the law of the land.
So, Josh, is this a question of where it seems like the politicians in Washington might have to catch up with the rest of society as opposed to usually the other way around?
I think that's exactly right, and I think marriage is a wonderful illustration of that. It's hard to really sort of wrap your mind around this looking back, but Barack Obama, Joe Biden, Hillary Clinton were all against gay marriage when they ran for president in 2008, and now here we are where every Democrat is for it. It's legal. Republicans are still adjusting, but this is an issue where the momentum and the real passion was at the grassroots. It was in the culture. Washington politicians were followers, not leaders. I think that may be true on other issues, social issues like marijuana, and who knows what else is coming down the pike.
Well, and, you know, guns, right, Josh? I mean, I think, you know, the outcropping of what happened in Charleston is, yes, you know, this is a hate crime, and yes, you know, get rid of the Confederate flag, but a lot harder, though, to tackle the bigger issue that the liberals want tackled, which is gun control. We still have not addressed that in this country.
No, and I think that's a notable exception to the movement we've seen on other social issues. Obama took a shot at that, terrible metaphor, after the Newtown killings, made a real push to get some modest gun control that had bipartisan support in the Senate. Ultimately, that failed. And one of the striking things you see in terms of looking at the political fallout in the wake of the Charleston shootings is that there really has not been a renewed national issue for gun control. I think it's just an area where politicians understand that, given the passions among gun rights supporters, there really isn't a path to passing something through the Republican-controlled Congress and getting it signed by the president. Instead, I think a lot of that energy has been sort of channeled or redirected into taking down the Confederate flag.